All right, welcome back for another deep dive. Our listeners are awesome, and they keep sending us really interesting stuff. And this time, someone sent in this article called Three Signs That Dark Forces Are Manipulating Your Reality.
Yeah, it's quite a title.
I know. I have to say, when I saw that in the inbox, I was like, oh, we have to talk about this. It's a little dramatic.
That is.
It's
It's intriguing. It is intriguing, and I think that it sets the stage for something that, a lot of people can relate to, which is that sometimes you just feel like something is a bit off,
Yeah.
and you don't really know what it is or why you're feeling that way.
Yeah.
And so this article kind of digs into that with these ideas about unseen forces.
Yeah, it's like less about like demons and devils
Right.
and more about just like a general feeling that things aren't right.
Yeah. Patterns of energy that are influencing our thoughts and behaviors
Hmm.
in ways that we're not even aware of.
Interesting.
So the article outlines three signs that you might be under the influence of these dark forces, and they call them inexplicable loops, deep primal fear, and distraction.
Okay, let's unpack these.
Okay.
Let's start with inexplicable loops.
Okay.
Now, the article mentions things like toxic relationships or repeating the same negative patterns in your life over and over. It's like you're stuck on a hamster wheel.
Right.
You're moving, but you're not really getting anywhere.
Yeah, and it's almost like these energies or entities, if you want to call them that, they feed off of our lower vibrational states, like frustration
Oh,
and confusion.
interesting.
And so the more we dwell in those states, the more energy we're giving to these forces that are actually kind of keeping us stuck.
So it's like we're almost feeding them
Exactly.
by being stuck.
Exactly.
Okay, wow. That is a thought.
It is.
So that's inexplicable loops.
Okay.
The second one is deep primal fear.
Yeah.
Now, I'm guessing this is that fear that kicks in when you actually try to step off the hamster wheel.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's that voice inside that says you're not good enough, or you're going to fail, or you're not safe if you leave this situation.
Right.
Even if you know consciously that it's not a healthy situation.
It's that fear that keeps you in your comfort zone, even if it's not comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this primal fear is really about keeping us small,
Yeah.
preventing us from reaching our full potential.
Interesting. So they use fear as a weapon, basically.
Exactly, as a weapon.
Wait. And the third one,
Distraction.
distraction. Now, this one feels especially potent in today's world
Oh, absolutely.
with all the technology and social media and...
It's designed to keep us distracted.
Right.
Think about it. We're constantly bombarded with information, notifications, entertainment. It's hard to even just sit in silence for a few minutes without feeling like you need to check your phone or see what's happening online.
Yeah, I'm totally guilty of that.
We all are. It's the environment we live in. But the problem is that all this distraction prevents us from connecting with our true selves.
Yeah.
Our intuition.
Our inner voice.
Yeah, that inner knowing that can guide us.
It's like they're trying to keep us so busy that we don't even have time to think for ourselves.
Yeah, and that's how they maintain control.
Very interesting. So we've got inexplicable loops,
Right.
deep primal fear,
Uh-huh.
and distraction.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, have any of these resonated with you so far? Like, what feels most familiar from your own experiences?
I think it's different for everyone, but it's definitely something to think about as we move forward because all of these signs can manifest in really subtle ways.
Right.
It's easy to overlook them until they've already taken root.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've identified the enemy's tactics, so to speak.
Right.
But how do they actually get a foothold in our lives? Like, how do these dark forces work on a deeper level within our own minds?
That's a great question. And that's exactly what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned.
It's like we've identified the warning signs. Now we need to understand how these dark forces actually get in.
Right, like how do they work internally?
Yeah, inside our own minds.
Yeah.
The article highlights three main tactics:
Yeah.
doubt,
Okay.
negative thought loops,
Uh-huh.
and false desires.
Okay.
And, at first glance, they might seem like just everyday challenges.
Yeah.
But when you start to see them through this lens of manipulation, it really kind of changes the whole game.
Okay, so let's start with doubt.
Okay.
For me personally, doubt often just creeps in disguised as self-reflection. It starts with a simple question like, am I good enough?
Right.
And then before I know it, I'm spiraling into this pit of insecurity
Yeah.
and just second guessing every decision I make.
And that's exactly what they want you to do.
Right.
It's like they plant that seed of doubt,
Uh-huh.
and it just grows and grows and feeds on our insecurities.
Oh, wow.
And it keeps us playing small.
It's so true. And I've also noticed that when I'm feeling doubtful, I tend to look for validation from others.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like I need that external proof that I'm okay.
Mm,
instead of just trusting my own inner voice.
right. And so when we lack that self-trust,
Yeah,
we become much more susceptible to outside influences,
right.
whether it's other people or social media or, even these dark forces that we're talking about.
It's like we're giving our power away.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got doubt swirling around in our minds.
Right.
What about those negative thought loops? I mean, we all have them.
We do. They're like little energy
Oh,
vampires.
oh, I hate those.
Yeah, they just drain us.
Yeah.
And the more we buy into those negative thoughts and stories,
Mm.
the deeper we get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah, it's like you get so used to hearing those negative thoughts that you start to believe them.
Right. And you forget that you actually have the power to change them.
Oh, for sure. And it feels really hard to break free.
It can be, but it's not impossible.
Okay, so how do we do it? How do we interrupt those negative patterns and reclaim our power?
We'll definitely get into some strategies for that.
Okay, good, because I need all the help I can get with that.
But before we do that, let's talk about that third tactic that the article mentions.
Okay.
False desires.
False desires, what's that about?
So it's not that all desires are bad,
Right.
because desires can be a really powerful force for growth and expansion.
Yeah.
But what the article is suggesting is that some desires are actually implanted in our minds by external forces.
So not even our own desires.
Not really. It's like they're leading us down a path that's not truly meant for us.
Huh. Like a distraction almost.
Exactly. It's like they dangle this shiny object in front of us,
Okay.
promising happiness and fulfillment, but it's an illusion.
Oh.
And when we finally get that thing that we thought we wanted so badly,
Yeah.
we're still left feeling empty.
Can you give an example?
Sure, imagine someone who's always chasing the next promotion,
Uh-huh.
the bigger house, the more prestigious title.
Okay.
They're achieving all this external success, but they're neglecting their inner needs and their passions.
Right. They're not actually happy.
Exactly. Like they're living someone else's life.
Wow, so it's not about denying our desires.
Right.
It's about figuring out which ones are truly ours.
Exactly. It's about learning to listen to the voice of our soul,
Yeah.
which is different from the voice of our ego.
Our ego, the one that always wants more.
Yeah, the ego's all about fear and scarcity,
Yeah.
whereas the soul is about love and abundance.
That makes sense.
So it's about learning to discern between those two voices.
Yeah, I resonate with that because I know I've definitely chased after goals that looked good on paper,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't actually light me up inside.
Right.
It's like I was playing a role that wasn't meant for me.
Yeah, and those experiences can be tough, but they can also be really valuable wake-up calls
I think so too.
because they force us to reevaluate our priorities and really figure out what matters to us.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where those strategies for reclaiming our power come in.
Okay, let's dive into those. I'm ready to break free. So we've explored, how these dark forces operate out there in the world and also like inside our own minds.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I think it's empowering.
Yeah, it is. Like knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the more aware we become,
Uh-huh.
the more we can start to shift those patterns and reclaim our power.
Okay, so the article outlines several strategies for breaking free from these manipulations, and I'm really curious to hear more about these. Like, where do we even begin?
Well, the first step is really about reclaiming your energy.
Reclaiming our energy,
It's
okay?
about becoming conscious of where you're directing your energy and setting boundaries with people or situations that drain you.
Mm-hmm.
We often talk about energy in kind of a metaphorical sense.
Right.
But have you ever,
Yeah.
been around someone and walked away feeling completely
Oh,
exhausted?
totally.
Like they just sucked the life out of you?
Yes, especially like maybe like negative people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Complainers, gossipy people.
Yeah, I used to have a friend who was like that, and I would always feel so drained after spending time with her.
Yeah, and it's not about blaming them.
Right.
It's just about recognizing that we have a choice
Mm-hmm.
in who and what we allow to influence our energy field.
So reclaiming our energy is about setting boundaries
Yes.
and being mindful of who we surround ourselves with.
Exactly.
Okay, what about this grounding and purification thing?
Yeah, these practices are all about cleansing and realigning our energy.
Okay.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Yeah.
The article suggests things like spending time in nature,
Oh, I love that.
walking barefoot on the earth,
Yeah.
visualizing roots connecting you to the ground,
Yeah.
even things like smudging with sage or taking a salt bath.
I feel like nature is so healing.
Yes.
Like whenever I'm feeling stressed, I just go for a walk in the woods
Mhm.
and I feel so much better.
Yeah, nature has this amazing ability to just absorb all that negativity
For sure.
and restore our balance.
Okay, the next one is strengthening our inner power.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah, how do we do that?
Practices like meditation,
Okay.
prayer,
Mhm.
affirmations, and really connecting with that higher self.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
self-love, and self-trust. And when we have that strong inner foundation,
Mm-hmm.
we're less likely to be swayed by outside influences.
So we're less susceptible to manipulation.
Exactly.
Okay, the next one is trusting our intuition. Now, this one feels a bit trickier.
It can be because it's often very subtle.
Yeah, how do we even know what our intuition is saying?
It's that still small voice within,
Okay.
that gut feeling,
Uh-uh.
that sense of knowing that just kind of arises.
Like a whisper.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a feeling of expansion or alignment,
Mm-hmm.
and other times it's a feeling of contraction or unease.
Hmm.
The key is to learn to pay attention to those subtle cues
Right.
and discern them from the chatter of our minds.
Because our minds can be so loud.
Oh, yeah. They can be very convincing.
Yeah, that's true. And I've definitely had those moments where I ignored my gut feeling and later regretted it.
We all have.
Yeah, so how do we strengthen our intuition? Like, how do we make it louder?
The more we listen to it,
Okay.
the stronger it becomes.
Oh, and
Start by just noticing those little nudges,
okay.
paying attention to how your body feels in different situations.
Uh-huh.
Some people find it helpful to journal
Oh, yeah.
about those intuitive hits and misses.
Yeah.
And remember, it's a practice.
Okay.
It takes time and patience.
And then the final strategy the article mentions is cultivating love.
Yes, love is the ultimate antidote
Okay.
to all of this darkness and negativity.
And I love that, but it also feels like the most challenging
It can be.
in a world that often feels so dark.
Yeah, but that's why it's so important.
Right.
Love is the most powerful force in the universe.
Yeah.
And when we choose love, we're choosing to empower ourselves.
So it's an act of rebellion almost.
It is. It's a way of saying no to those forces that are trying to dim our light.
Wow, what a powerful way to put it.
And, the more love we cultivate
Mhm.
within ourselves and in the world,
Yeah.
the brighter our reality becomes.
It's like we're raising our vibration.
Exactly.
So no matter what challenges we face,
We always have the power to choose love.
always.
This has been such an incredible deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm walking away with some really practical tools that I can start using right away.
It's great to hear.
Yeah, and I hope our listeners are feeling the same way.
Me too.
So as we wrap up today's episode, I just want to remind everyone that you are not alone.
We're all in this together.
We are, and we have the power to create a brighter world.
Yes, we do.
So keep shining your light, keep choosing love, and keep believing in the power of your own intuition.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Thanks for joining us.